California's liberal media and the Democrats are screaming about a new ad that my campaign just released. They're calling my ad divisive and racist. Well, coming up, I'm going to share the ad with you. You get to watch it and decide for yourself. And I'll tell you what the controversy is really about. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and as you know, we're fighting hard to take back the state from far-left politicians and their enablers in the liberal media. California has seen people fleeing this state in record numbers because they can't afford to live here anymore. They can't stomach living here anymore. That's why our movement exists. It's to take back the state from the left, and it's why I made the decision several weeks ago to run for a seat in the California state legislature. I believe that in order for us to save California, we've got to first shake up the Republican Party and turn it into a true functioning opposition party that actually offers alternatives, bold alternatives to contrast with the failure of liberal Democrats in our state. The problem with the current Republican Party is that, number one, they're cowards. Most of these elected officials are so afraid of their own shadow. They're afraid of being criticized by the liberal media or being attacked by Democrats and targeted in their next race that they basically are not standing on principle. And secondly, many of them are either conflicted or downright incompetent. Again, there are several exceptions to the rule. I don't want to paint with just a broad brush. But the problem is that the Republican Party of California is not functioning. It's not leading. It needs to be shaken up. On the issue of illegal immigration and the issue of the lack of security at our southern border, do you hear California Republican elected officials raising those issues? Very rarely. As a whole, they're certainly not doing that. It's sort of like the secret. It's the topic nobody wants to address on the right. Don't talk about why sanctuary states are bad. Don't talk about the fact that illegal immigration is costing us billions of dollars in the state of California. Shush. We wouldn't want people to consider us racist. Oh, you're afraid of being called names by the liberal media? Well, look, they're going to call you names no matter what. You might as well stand your ground and do the right thing. So as I'm running for state legislature, my opening ad addresses this issue of lack of leadership and courage on important issues. And I can't think of a more important issue right now than our porous border. The fact that our border is not secure. Here in San Diego, by the way, and we talked about this on a podcast a few weeks ago, we are now up to over 70,000 illegal immigrants that the Border Patrol has released onto the streets of San Diego since September. 70,000 in San Diego County alone released onto our streets. 70,000 is the size of a medium-sized city in this state. It is absolutely unsustainable. And you do know that we have terror watch list suspects that have been detained at the border, a record number, by the way, in the Biden administration. Millions of people coming across the border. And you've got California enabling this and incentivizing the human trafficking by offering generous illegal immigrant welfare programs at your expense as they're trying to raise your taxes and cut your basic services. And so I decided to release an ad on the border. I'm going to share with that ad in just a minute. But here is the article in Politico. I called my ad, Governor Pete Wilson Was Right. You may remember Governor Pete Wilson from the 1990s. He actually ran in 1994 for re-election as governor on a secure the border message. He sued. He was one of the first, I think he was the first governor in the United States to sue the federal government for its ineptitude and incompetence when it comes to border security. Pete Wilson sued the federal government. He said, do your damn job. Today, we're seeing these border governors like Greg Abbott and Ron DeSantis and others sue the federal government, and it's commonplace. But back in 1994, Pete Wilson was a groundbreaking governor. And he was criticized and attacked for it, that, you shouldn't be suing people. Well, the left is suing people all the time to try to get their policies implemented. They use lawfare, warfare, lawfare. And Wilson was right to sue the federal government. Governor Pete Wilson also backed Proposition 187, which passed by a 60% margin in the state of California in 1994. It basically said that we shouldn't be offering generous welfare benefits to illegal immigrants. Contrast that to today. Not only are we providing the basic suite of services for any resident, education, healthcare, basic emergency healthcare, but we are providing free health insurance at taxpayer expense. And by the way, the illegal immigrant healthcare insurance program covers transgender sex reassignment surgeries as well. It's just insane. We're also providing free legal defense for illegal immigrants in the state of California now. In other words, we're giving them your taxpayer money so they can hire a private attorney to fight the federal government to stop deportation. The state of California doesn't give you a free attorney to fight the IRS when you're audited. No. You're expected to pay your own legal bills. You're not given a free attorney when your local government or the state government goes after you for non-compliance with some absurd regulation. No. You pay for your own attorney. But by golly, if you're an illegal immigrant in the state of California, you get a free taxpayer-funded attorney to fight another taxpayer-funded attorney at the federal level who's trying to deport you. So anyway, I did this ad. I'm going to share the ad with you in a minute because, again, I want you to see the controversy that the media is trying to stir up here, and then watch the ad, and you get to decide whether you think it's controversial. It's coming up. Just, hold your horses. Governor Pete Wilson was right. California State Assembly candidate revives controversial immigration ad. Controversial immigration ad. Again, is it controversial to talk about a crisis at the border? I don't think so. Is it controversial to say that we ought to secure the border? Nope, not in my book, not in the book of 70% of Californians, according to the latest Berkeley IGS poll. Again, we talked about that poll in a podcast last week, where Democrats and a plurality of Democrats are for border security now. A supermajority of independents and Republicans are for border security. How is that controversial? Again, the media wants you to think something's controversial when in fact, this is your idea. So to the left wing, it's controversial, but they're the ones that are controversial for wanting an open border versus 70% that want the secure border. Subheadline: a Republican running to be the new face of the GOP in Sacramento is coming to Wilson's defense and appropriating his divisive message. Let me highlight these words. We got controversial. We got divisive. Have you seen a more loaded narrative driving set of headlines? Again, that's how the liberal media operates. All right, so here's the story itself. It says 30 years ago, then California Governor Pete Wilson set off a political earthquake on immigration. The story goes on to recount what I just told you about Prop 187. It says Democrats charge him with racism and stoking anti-immigration sentiment. Members of his own party feared that he was alienating the state's fast-growing Latino electorate and sending the California GOP down a path to irrelevance. Now a Republican running to be the new face of the GOP, I guess they're referring to me, is coming to Wilson's defense and appropriating his divisive message. On Monday, as the immigration debate consumes Washington, San Diego area state assembly candidate Carl DeMaio will start airing a 30-second TV ad entitled Governor Pete Wilson was right. The homage to Wilson represents a stunning break from the party's softer immigration messaging since Wilson took office or left office. Quote, the Republican political establishment has been dead wrong for 30 years and they are guilty of political malpractice on the issue. DeMaio told Politico. I can't sum it up quicker than that. I think the California Republican Party can't find its ass with a search party and a map when it comes to border and a lot of other issues. And the consultants are so mamsy-pamsy, so weak, so wrong, that by advising Republican candidates not to mention border security or illegal immigration, I think they're guilty of malpractice. I think that the problem has been that the Republican Party hasn't stood for something, hasn't been a strong voice, an alternative, hasn't been principled. I think the reason why the Republican Party has lost so much ground in California is it stands for nothing. It is weak. It is mamsy-pamsy. Now, Politico goes on to say, even in California, where Republicans need to navigate the immigration issue more carefully than their brethren in much of the country, he, referring to me, DeMaio, is taking a sledgehammer to years of GOP in Sacramento, carefully negotiating its position. Boy, those words are euphemisms. Years of the GOP in Sacramento carefully negotiating its position. How about years of cowardice in Sacramento by the GOP? So it goes on to describe the ad, and I will share the ad with you directly. It says that DeMaio does more than credit Wilson for his stances back then, referring to 1994. He blames both Democrats and Republicans for the problems at the southern border that are raging today. He argues that the California GOP's decision to abandon its tough stance on immigration has only allowed those problems to grow worse while doing nothing to help Republicans win elections. In other words, once they started losing badly, they internalized the wrong reasons for their losing and should have taken a hard line that's common with Republicans in Texas and Florida. So that was my message with the ad. How about I share with you the ad itself, okay? Here it is. Let me back this up. And we will begin.
2 million illegal immigrants in California.
For Californians who work hard, pay taxes, and obey the laws, I'm suing the government to control the border.
That was 30 years ago. And today the border problem is a national security crisis. While California from both parties do fighter Carl DeMaio to secure was taking on the Sacramento swamp to end sanctuary cities and finally enact a voter ID law to secure the border.
So that is the ad. I'm going to play it one more time.
2 million illegal immigrants in California.
For Californians who work hard and obey the laws, I'm suing to force the federal government to control the border.
That was 30 years ago.
Okay, so that was the first 9 seconds was Pete Wilson from his Prop 187 ad. You know, he's saying, look, millions of people are coming across. For all you hardworking Californians who live by the rules, why should you pay for the cost of illegal immigration? Why should you be forced to hire a free lawyer for them today? Why should you be footing the bill for them to have free health care, health insurance? Your premiums are probably $1,000 easily a month, $12,000 a year, $16,500 is the average for a family in California. But while you're working hard to pay your insurance bills, the illegal immigrants get the free insurance from the state of California and your taxes are raised. This is insanity. You played by the rules and now you're being punished. And someone else is getting rewarded for not playing by the rules. There is a limit to what we can do. And by the state of California offering the generous benefit of a variety of very lavish welfare programs, we're incentivizing illegal immigration across the border. Pete Wilson from that clip was talking about suing the federal government. That's not extraordinary. Do your damn job, federal government. Your open border has an impact on us. Listen to all those blue state or blue city mayors who say, oh, we're a sanctuary. We're a sanctuary. Now they're saying, stop, no more. Don't bring them here. Really? Talk about a change in position. It's all well and good to talk about your liberal nonsense, your virtue signaling, until you actually have to pay the piper. And you find that these people are frauds. But, oh, sure, they want you to pay. Now, the other thing that I'm going to be doing besides the ad is I'm laying out a 3-point plan at a press conference tomorrow. I'll give you a preview of this. Number one, I believe we need to deploy the California National Guard immediately to the southern border and back up our Border Patrol agents so that we can secure the border crossings, that we can turn people back. This is absolutely paramount importance. Plus, we do need to get into the drug investigations and stop the tunnels that are coming across our southern border. And it's the leading source of fentanyl in our communities is from Mexico across that porous border. So deploy that California National Guard. People will say, well, Newsom will never do that. Just because someone won't do their job doesn't mean I have to not, that I shouldn't be doing my job. My job is to call out Newsom, to demand that he deploy that California National Guard, to let the voters of California know that we don't have to accept this crap. that there are things that we can do immediately, that Governor Newsom has ability to stem the flow of illegal immigration and the drugs across our border. So the California National Guard, deploy them to the southern border in massive numbers. Second, end the sanctuary state policy. When we have criminals here who are here illegally, we should be immediately handling those people back over to ICE so they can be taken out of the country. Why are we releasing illegal immigrant criminals back onto the streets so they can commit more crimes? It is absolutely absurd. We are a haven and a protectorate for criminals with a sanctuary state law. We need to repeal that law immediately and start working with ICE. And third, we got to cut off that welfare flow. And that means we have to start by looking at these two new programs that Newsom has put into place: free taxpayer-funded lawyers and the free health care. Plus, the city of San Diego and the county of San Diego and some of these other jurisdictions are hiring navigators to help illegal immigrants apply for welfare benefits. Hells no. If you don't give our veterans a navigator to help them with their benefits, why in the hell are you giving an illegal immigrant a navigator to milk the system? It's offensive. It needs to stop. So turn off that constant flow of generous welfare benefits. We cannot incentivize illegal immigration. Look, I put out this ad because I believe that we need to say all of the things in this ad and more. And I'm putting out my plan because I believe that border security is one of our top issues that we have to address in the state of California. It's not just a financial issue. It's not just a quality of life issue and a fairness issue. It is a national security threat. We have got to secure the border. There is no choice. And I believe that the polling that we covered last week on this show shows that a supermajority of independents, Republicans, and Democrats want to see a secure border. So why are Republicans so afraid to say that? Why are they afraid to fight? I'm not, and I know you aren't either. If you want to support this new leadership, please go on our website, reformcalifornia.org, reformcalifornia.org. Chip in a contribution so we can keep this ad on air. It's costing us tens of thousands of dollars every day to run this ad in these markets. Please help us get the message out. Because when other Republicans see that ad, other candidates for office, other elected officials, their supporters, it sends that message that, look, we all should be standing up and speaking the same way. I think it's a very effective ad. I need your help to keep it on air. Chip in a contribution at reformcalifornia.org, reformcalifornia.org, and you're going to see more of that ad on your local stations. With that, the controversial, divisive, and racist ad. And actually, before I close, let me respond to that racism nonsense. We are a welcoming country. No one who stands for border security is against legal immigration. We are a nation of immigrants. The fact that the left says that those of us who want a secure border are racist mean that they can't actually argue the point. But more importantly, they are slapping the American people who've been very generous in the face on the issue of immigration. They're basically saying that every year we take 1 million people into this country legally. We vet them. They go through the process. They have sponsorship. They do all of the regulatory requirements. And 1 million people go through that process and earn their position, their way into this country. That's how it should be. We should have a deliberate system with vetting. We take 1 million people a year in. How many more do you expect? How many more do we have to take in before you stop calling us racist? Because there's no question about our embrace of immigrants. The issue here, though, is complete lack of security and vetting at the border, and it is illegal immigration. It has nothing to do with people's skin color or orientation or ethnicity or religious beliefs. It has everything to do with following the law. But the other side wants to call it racist because they want to divert attention from the scam that they are running at the border with the coyotes, with the cartels, with the human traffickers. Do not be deterred. Do not be intimidated by smears from the other side. That's what they're going to do because they can't argue the points. Stand your ground, fight for a secure border. The voters will back you up. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.